What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So we are going to get back on the reviews, guys. I've been unfortunately lacking on the reviews, but we're going to power through season 1 of the Proud Family so we can get right back to season 2, where they start the real woke nonsense that everybody's been complaining about. But of course, I wanted to do season 1 so that you guys get the full context of where we started and where we end up. So without further ado, guys, all I'm going to ask is two things. If you guys could, one, like the video, I would greatly appreciate it. Number two, consider giving this video a long view duration, because that helps me fight the YouTube algorithm. For every minute you stay on this video, it helps us push out the video more and more, thus helping the channel continue to grow. With that being said, let's get into the episode 6 of season 1 for the Proud Family. Now, overall, this episode wasn't too terrible. I do like some of the messaging that's in the episode. I think I'm fairly honest when it comes to these TV shows, to be honest with you guys. I'm pretty straightforward. The TV show is not bad. It's nowhere near as bad as Velma, at least not this season. Of course, we haven't gotten to season 2 yet. Season 2, I'm sure, is going to ramp up the craziness. But in this particular episode, I do like the idea of trying to teach young kids to start their own business. I think it's a very good thing, instead of trying to just be the worker slave, you know, starting your own business and making your own company kind of a thing and trying to provide a solution to a problem. I think it's a good message to teach kids, and I wish they would do more of that in kids' TV shows, and even in just like in school and whatnot. I think it would be very helpful. But let's continue on. So we have the whole group is here outside of the church, where again, one of the good things that they were doing was they were actually feeding the homeless. I think it's pretty cool that they showcased that. Dejanay, she seems very, very obsessed with KG after mentioning, ironically, that scary people come out at night, and all the scary people that they're referencing seem like they are homeless people, which is just even funnier at the end of the day. Now, the interesting thing here is that the fact that they even showcase this is ironic to me, because these same people who make TV shows like this and have liberal policies and whatnot, they're the reason why shit like this is happening in the first place in places like California, where you see a bunch of tents all around on the city streets of homeless people living here. I mean, come on, look at the cartoon. It literally is showcasing that exact thing. So I think it's ironic that a lot of these people who vote for this stuff and allow this stuff to happen are the ones who are also making TV shows like this, showcasing it in the cartoon. I just think it's a bit of irony that is not lost on me. So like I said, Dejanay is very obsessed with KG, and KG is just not having it, ends up getting his drone to escape the situation. And then Penny ends up complaining to La Cienega about the fact that her father was supposed to pick them up from the church, and he has not shown up, has no idea where they are. They're not picking up their phone. And then her father's brother, Bobby, just randomly happens to show up. Of course, perfect timing. And they ask for a ride, of which, of course, he's going to say it's perfectly fine. But he says that he's hungry and ends up stealing all the tacos that Dejanay had for her brothers and sisters. She calls him greedy. He forgot to pick her up. He reverses, goes to pick her up, and ends up taking the last taco and takes them away. And then the intro rolls from there, where we see Oscar with Mr. Chimps, and he's trying to make him take some weird photos and threatens him with the basement if he doesn't comply. Trudy ends up showing up with a whole bunch of animals in the middle of Oscar taking the picture, which freaks Oscar out because he doesn't like those little animals. And then Penny ends up storming in and questioning where the hell was everybody and why nobody picked her up. Check this out.
Where is Daddy? He was supposed to pick me and my friends up from the food pantry. I've been calling y'all for the past hour.
Oh, Daddy's up on the ceiling playing Spider-Man.
So listen, she has every right to complain. I mean, obviously it's very unsafe for her to be out there in the middle of the night and nobody picks them up when they were supposed to. That's obviously a fail on the parents' part, and that's nothing wrong with saying that in that regard. So Bobby ends up requesting money for picking up Penny. Bobby obviously is not going to get any money from Oscar. That's never going to happen. And then we fast forward and we see Sugar Mama watching a TV show, what looks to be a mimic of Shark Tank, where they make a very ironic statement about the fact that the show is sponsored by medical organizations, and this person who's a participant on the show ends up making an insecure for all known diseases, and they end up saying, no, we can't back this, sorry. and they cancel them out. I think it's pretty funny because it is true to a very hardcore degree. Check this out.
The show is sponsored by the largest pharmaceutical company in the world, right? You are in the crab barrel.
So again, very ironic, very funny. Oscar ends up saying he's hungry. Trudy says she's hungry too and asks him what he's cooking. And he said the only thing he's been cooking is money. And then they all laugh at him because, of course, Oscar is just incapable of making any money whatsoever. They don't really respect him. It's an ongoing theme, obviously, through the Proud Family. And then Bobby ends up taking Penny to the food mart where she gets him his nachos, where, you know, that's what he was promised for the ride. And that's where Penny has the bright idea to come up with a ride-sharing service very similar to Uber Uber, but specifically for kids who need rides and their parents are not able to get them. Again, I don't mind the message. I think the message is pretty good. I wish they would teach kids more about running their own businesses and trying to be entrepreneurs, at least in the manner that's actually going to benefit them, not these fake gurus that try to sell courses and stuff just to take their own money. And that's their own version of entrepreneurship. But in the middle of it, Bobby ends up realizing that he only had $5 and they put $60 in the tank. So the gas station owner tries to come out there and try to get his money. Obviously, that's not going to happen. And Bobby ends up taking Penny and they leave. Then we see a scene where Penny and the group are in Penny's little tree house where they're trying to come up with the idea for the ride sharing service, but none of them are taking it seriously. Everybody's too focused on how ugly the tree house looks and how childish it looks. But obviously, it's going to look childish because they all grew up magically within the span of a day, overnight. At least that's how it was explained anyway, between the original series and now the new one. And then we see Penny talking about what's needed in order to actually make the actual ride-sharing service happen. They need marketing, they need funds, they need all this stuff, and none of them seem interested whatsoever. And they say it's her business, is not theirs, of which she tries to convince them. Check it out.
Aren't you sick and tired of them forgetting to pick you up? Yeah! Well, let's show them we are sick and tired of being sick and tired, and we're not gonna take it anymore! Yeah!
So again, she's not too successful in trying to convince them right away. It seems like she would be at the start, but then it kind of just falls a little flat. But she gets them to help anyway, regardless, because of course that's going to happen. And they all start making phone calls trying to get people to buy into the ride-sharing service. And they're all pretty much getting hung up on either the moment basically the moment they found out that they're 14 years old, because you got to remember these kids are 14, 15 years old. The moment these people who they're calling find out their age, they hang up immediately because they want nothing to do with it. They end up saying without an adult, there's no way in hell they're going to get any sort of funding. And that's when Penny says she's on it. And she ends up getting Pappy in order to help them out. And he does a fantastic job and ends up signing up over about 100 people, I think they mentioned. Check it out.
Mi señora, no se arrepentirá de usar Gering.
Ooh, I don't know what you talking about, Cat Daddy, but I'm just gonna say knick-knack, paddywhack,
I think my favorite character in this entire series, even the original Proud Family, was Pappy. I think he's pretty hilarious, and he represents a lot of how the audience probably feels. So they end up, again, trying to get drivers for the ride-sharing service, and they're trying to talk to all of their particular friends who may or may not want to be drivers. And then Penny ends up realizing she needs $200 in order to finish the actual app because KG did everything else necessary to do the app. Penny ends up going home trying to convince her dad to give her the $200, and this happens. Check it out.
Great business opportunity, right? So for only $200, you can get in on the ground floor.
If I had $200, you think I'd be here trying to teach a monkey how to speak English? Why are you?
I don't agree with that at all. Obviously, there is an age where you should or should not probably do something like this, but when you're younger, you could take more risk. So you definitely should do it younger while you can. Now, obviously, 14 is way too freaking young, in my opinion, but still, when you're 17, 18 years old, whatever, you have some ideas, and you have the backing and the help of family and whatever friends, and yeah, why not try it out? I mean, I think it's something that a lot of young people need to do instead of just becoming slave workers for retail companies, which ends up usually happening. So Sugar Mama ends up coming in and saying she's going to give Penny the $200, and then we have a little bit of a reference to the movie It, which I actually enjoyed. Check it out.
You're the nightmare!
Works every time.
So very cool. I appreciated the reference. It's one of my favorite horror movies. So we have this whole montage of the girls and the group going together and trying to share out flyers for the app and how successful the app is becoming little by little. You have Bobby being one of the drivers, which is pretty funny because he gets his car stolen by Dejanay's cousins. You got Pappy, who's a driver and is driving the Gross sisters, and they have themselves a little bit of a singing moment. I can't play it too long for copyright, but I'll give you a little clip.
Me gustaría embarrarles cremita a ustedes, cretinas, cenicientas.
So again, we have that little moment. It's a montage, and they come together and they realize that even though the app is doing very, very well, there's still some questions. Check it out.
Where are you going? You can't quit now. That's what everyone says about Generation Z. That we're Generation Lazy.
Obviously, Penny gets completely left behind by her friends because Gen Z being called lazy is a trope that is definitely pretty accurate. So a week later passes by, and you got all the kids sitting by in front of the TV waiting to see Penny on the actual Shark Tank style TV show, where she's gonna try to get funding for her ride-sharing program. She's up against some guy in a fly suit. Doesn't really go too well for the guy in the fly suit though. Check it out.
Suit, you ignorant Americans! It will revolutionize the world! And I only need $18 million to complete development.
So they like the fly suit, but ultimately what they realize is that Penny actually is related to Oscar, who was actually on that TV show and caused them a bunch of trouble in the past. So they tried to automatically disqualify Penny because of the relation after this whole skit with Bobby trying to convince them through a song to make them sponsor them. But they realized that Proud Snacks was there at one point and completely wrecked their show, and they decided to want to disqualify Penny. But they can't disqualify Penny because of this. Check it out.
Don't move. Gotta fly.
So the guy ends up getting eaten by the crab monster in the bucket or whatever the case may be, and that makes Penny Proud the winner by default. And then we see Oscar getting harassed by an Arnold Schwarzenegger looking person. Check it out.
Turtleneck sweater?
I'm looking for Oscar Proud.
Oh, you're a bill collector. Well, me too. If you see him, let me know.
I know who you are, little man. I'm the animal rights inspector.
So the animal rights inspector came by because of Mr. Chimps, which is pretty funny at the end of the day. Mr. Chimps ended up reporting Oscar to the animal rights investigator. And then we got all the kids now helping Penny Proud with Get In, because Get In's got all the funding in the world now available to take it nationwide, and not only nationwide, but global as well. So she's a big, major hit. And then this happens. Check it out.
Y'all better get out of this white man's office.
This is my office, Daddy. And it's all because of what you told me.
It's amazing that Oscar automatically assumed that the office belonged to a white man just because it was fancy and, again, it had a lot of money. So Penny ends up saying that Oscar taught her how to run a business, and she appreciates that. Oscar is obviously very proud of Penny. And Get In is majorly successful until something pops up on the news, which makes it very bad for the company. Check it out.
Not a man, but a simian with a fake driver's license. The pesky primate was promptly taken to county jail, booked and held without bail. Sadly, Get In stock.
So now, with all the drama that happened with Mr. Chimps and Get In, it caused Get In's stock price to drastically fall, which is obviously going to affect the company to the point where they're no longer going to be able to stay in business. It's pretty messy. Animal rights, obviously, they let out Oscar. He's no longer going to be locked up. And then that's basically it. That's the end of the episode. So, again, it shows something that I like. I like seeing kids learn about how to operate their own business, how to be independent, not be slave to the actual working system. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with that, but I just think it's cool to see something different. It's cool to see, other than, oh, go to college, get a job, get a 9-to-5 kind of a thing. I like to see something a little bit different being taught to kids, so that's pretty cool. Ultimately, this particular episode, nothing was wrong with it in terms of messaging. I thought it was fine. I thought there was some funny one-liners in there for sure. I thought overall it was a good episode, and again, I wish I saw more of this, but unfortunately, this, every iteration here and there, you get some wokeness thrown in there that completely ruins what will otherwise be just a pretty decent show. So overall, I'm gonna give this episode for Louder and Prouder, episode number 6, a solid 8 out of 10. Yeah, I thought this episode was pretty decent. I thought it had some funny one-liners. I thought there was no bad messaging in here whatsoever. I thought there was actually good messaging in here, and I would watch a show like this quite often. If the series was more like this, I'd be happier. But unfortunately, I know it's only going to get worse. They do have some bad episodes, and I don't know if it's because of who's writing that particular episode, but it does unfortunately become very wavy. It's not consistent. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this review. I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, consider leaving me a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to like the video, comment, let me know what you thought, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Hypnotic out.